Hello, we are live, and this is Joseph Vivaldi of the Joseph Vivaldi Network, and this is a brand new show on this network, and I'm calling it A Soul Warrior's Journey Reading. That's right, A Soul Warrior's Journey Reading. It's a book reading that is going to be through all the way from the dedication all the way to the end, and I'm gonna get through that book, and it's gonna be about 8 hours and maybe longer, we shall see. But I'm gonna start by reading the dedication, acknowledgement, and chapter 1 just to start off this podcast. But first I want to give a backstory of why I wrote A Soul Warrior's Journey in the first place. It was in 2010. I wanted to write a book. I read a lot of books on past lives and everything else. All metaphysical books. But I felt mystery needed to be completed, and a book needed to be completed. And then the idea came to me. I always wanted to be a writer, and I came off of writing The Amazing Effects of Water, which I did on Lulu, which was about 30 pages, but I really wanted to put my writing to test, so I thought about this book, and two characters came to my mind. They were Joseph Woods and Mattias Anderson. I always wanted to have a mentor-like character because I saw the book The Celestine Prophecy, or I seen the movie The Celestine Prophecy, and I seen the movie The Way of a Peaceful Warrior, or The Peaceful Warrior, with Dan Millman, and the other one was James Redfield. In those books, one book consisted of, Way of a Peaceful Warrior. It consisted of a mentor named Socrates who guided Dan through his problems and stirred him into the right direction. I thought of that archetype, and I wanted to add something similar to my book. And also another one, I was thinking of Will in The Celestine Prophecy. He was a character who was on a spiritual journey, but he helped the main character do whatever, and I wanted to create a character like that in my book. And then I started writing the book in 2010. I completed it in 2013, and I released it. But now I figure, in the day of age of podcasting, how about I do a podcast about it? And let me give you a backstory of who these characters are before anything, at least the main ones. First, Joseph Woods. Joseph Woods faced addiction problems. He faced a lot of catastrophe. He faced many problems throughout his life, and he bumped into a mentor that would help him to solve his problems, or actually deal with his problems. At first, they were his friends, but then it was another story, which we'll get down later in the road, but let's not jump ahead of ourselves. It's the mentor-student relationship and how the student could overcome his problems and face his fears. And they will all be revealed in this book. Now, before I get back to the book, I'm gonna do some plugs along the way. I'm plugging the Alkanus Network, which is going to be launching, I believe, today. A good friend of the show, which is on my podcast network, and that is Totem Wolf and Bearheart show or podcast. But an adversary of this podcast is Wolfman, and I'm plugging the Ricky and Wolfman show on that network, which it should be released today, and hopefully we'll see what goes on from there. And also, I'm plugging this network. A lot of good shows are going to be coming up in the near future. I released some of them. One more is still to come, so I'll see what goes on from there. And I'm also plugging my blog. The www.josephvivaldi.blog, which features my blogging, and you can also check me out on Facebook in the author section, and keep a lookout on the Joseph Vivaldi brand. Back to the podcast. I'm back, and without further ado, let me start this book, A Soul Warrior's Journey by Joseph Vivaldi. Copyright 2011 for Part 1 of A Soul Warrior's Journey. Text copyright April 2013, Joseph Vivaldi. All rights reserved. Disclaimer. Dedication. I dedicate this book to those who I've known that have passed on, such as family members and friends that have guided me from beyond in more ways than I'll ever know. Thank you. Hold on a second. Shut my phone off so there's no interruptions. Okay. A special note. Originally, one of my characters in the book was named Pope Francis when I was writing A Soul Warrior's Journey. However, since Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio chose the name Pope Francis on March 13th, 2013, I am changing the name in my book from Pope Francis to Pope Francis Xavier, so there is no confusion. I am not making this up, and I am telling you the God's honest truth. I've dated February 22nd, 2013, with a proof of A Soul Warrior's Journey that a character in my book was named Pope Francis. However, I changed the name to Pope Francis Xavier out of respect. I pray that Pope Francis will live up to that name and bring peace to the church that is struggling right at this moment. He has a mission to have the older priests share their knowledge with the younger people, We have a lot to learn from our elders as they hold the path to wisdom. I hope to enjoy this book. I hope you enjoy this book and learn whatever you can from it. It is a work of fiction, but the issues are real in this time. It is one search for self, and it is a soul warrior's journey. Acknowledgements. I would like to thank a few people for making of this book. Without these people and their efforts, this book might not be possible. There are some people whom I met that were influential, and some who I have not met that were influential. First, I would like to thank my ex-fiancée, Kim Davidite. She had supported me and encouraged me to write even in times of distress, which were many during the writing of this book. I'd like to thank my parents who gave me creativity, freedom to study whatever I wanted, even if it went against the stuff they believed in. My dad, who has been supporting of my writing and his efforts to promote the work I am doing. Also my mom, especially. Without her, I would not have the ability to be creative. I'd like to thank my brother, Ed Evaldi III. He has always been one to push me when I was a kid, and without him, I wouldn't have the ability to research topics and the hard work to put in the topics that I do. I also would like to thank my friend Mario, who has given me friendship during a tough period in my life. Also, I would like to thank Terence Garcia, who had helped me by giving support while I was writing this book. Another person I met that was influential to me with writing this book was my English professor, Dr. Dean Domenico. I might be wrong on the spelling of his last name, but this person made me work hard on my writing English assignments. Even while I was working on those many assignments, I felt like screaming. However, he had pushed me to be at my best, and without him, I would not be writing this book that I am today. Another professor I would like to thank is Dr. Jose Sanchez. He gave me the ability to creatively develop myself in a group setting. He helped me understand the fundamentals of group behavior, and this knowledge helped me to write this book. The people that have been inspirational to me that I don't know and helped me to write this book are George Norrie, Randy Rogers, and Brian L. Weiss, MD. George Norrie has helped me by being the host of Coast to Coast AM. Coast to Coast AM is a radio show that is aired from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. on the East Coast. This show deals